Hi, Laura.
Hello.
How you doing today?
I'm great today.
Excellent.
Give me a sec.
Of course,
Was
of
it-
course.
Anything that I did.
I see Jacob is trying to join us. I see I see Jacob is trying to join us. He's one of the new members.
Oh, awesome. Right on. Yeah, my daughter might come in at some point.
That's great.
She's watching cartoons right now. She's okay, but there.
Yeah,
Let me know if you can hear the TV because I'll shut the door.
you're fine. Um,
Okay.
by the way, the event in Discord says, hey Jacob, the event in Discord shows the correct time, but then when I go to Zoom, it still shows the wrong time, and that may still be daylight savings times problems. Okay,
Oh, who set up the Zoom invite? Was it me or you?
probably me. And then, what happens probably is when the daylight savings times kicks in, it doesn't adjust or something. I'm not worried about it. I mean, obviously we've started the meeting, we're fine. That isn't a big deal. Okay.
Sure, let me sign in to Zoom and see, because I want to sign in anyway, so just see here.
Hey Jacob, I see you're connected now, but you're muted.
Is it
Jacob?
working?
Yeah, it's
Hello.
working.
Yeah. Hi, Mike.
How you doing today, man?
Qu- Quite a bit more than usual, actually. I went to a birthday party.
Hey, all
Yeah,
right, very good.
had Italian food.
All right. Um, ravioli, spaghetti, everything. What was it?
Oh, there's like linguine and gnocchi. It was at a buffet.
Wow, that
Those
sounds
fried rice
delicious.
balls,
Wow, that sounds really good.
cannolis.
Oh man, I miss cannolis. I grew up in this little town in northern Illinois, and there was an Italian restaurant we used to go to that had really good cannolis, which is kind of weird that there was something that good in rural northern Illinois, but
Yeah, that is
they
weird.
ended
But
up shutting down. But man, I love cannolis, and they're hard to
oh,
find sometimes.
they're amazing. It's like the cookie and the chocolate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. So, Alora, have you gotten used to your job at all, or you still struggling? I know you're trying to do a lot of things. She may not hear me. I think she's got her headphones off now. Yeah, she's talking to her kid. So where do you live, Jacob?
Oh, kind of out in rural Kansas. Like around like gosh, I'm not even sure the census even counts anything around here as a town anymore.
Ah,
We're like 40 people.
okay. So that reminds me, yeah, you were talking about some work you did at, I'm gonna guess it was Spirit because you said Boeing, in Kansas. Is that
It was at a contractor that's down the road here called the Sonica Group.
okay?
Yeah. They're out of Belgium, I believe, but they're one of the many contractors that send stuff to Spirit. because they've financialized that whole supply chain so much that it's all just dozens of little shops bidding against each other.
Yeah. Yeah, and I should probably not comment. I've been trained over the years, I've worked on
Yeah,
rockets and spacecraft, and when they have problems,
yeah,
I remember on space station, there was one time Congress was making a mess of space station, and so the local news TV show, a TV station came by and was like trying to interview engineers as they walked out of work, and they're so impressed that a
yeah.
TV show in LA is going to broadcast what they think. That they just started talking to the reporter. And of course, Boeing corporate came down really heavy, like, no,
Oh
you
yeah,
engineers do not talk to the press. So when this particular topic, because we're recording this, I
yeah.
should probably just not talk about Boeing at all.
Oh,
How's
I
it?
would absolutely be careful in pertaining to an employer you currently work for.
That's right. Well, even ones that I previously worked for. So I worked at SpaceX, and that's probably
Oh,
not
that's
something I
cool.
want to talk. Yeah, I worked on the Dragon in the this before it flew on the cargo area. And my design was on CRS-2 that took up these like 600-pound tools that are used. They're called grapple fixtures, and to handle the radiators that had gone bad over time. They just wore out the radiators on the space station. They got to attach these tools so that the robot arm could grab onto these
Mhm,
radiators and move them, right? So it was like
mhm,
600 pounds of tooling that went in the cargo of the Dragon, because I mean, if you lost that unmanned Dragon,
mhm,
no problem. It was like a
mhm.
test flight. So anyway, I have a photograph of that Dragon spacecraft, and the robot arm on the space station is pulling out these tools. And I was a primary structure lead engineer on the space station truss. So I designed
Yeah,
part of the space station truss. So I got both of my spacecraft in the photograph. So that anyway, that was a really fun job. But I left
yeah.
in 2009 before Falcon 9 even flew. So
Oh, okay.
there's always a lot of, as I understand it, when I was there was a lot of turmoil, a lot of turnover. Yeah, well, it's high pressure stuff, long hours, and
Y- That's fair. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I tell many people that even though I've done a lot of overtime in my career, that
Yeah.
that if I'd stayed there, I'd be dead by now, because the hours would have just killed me, literally. It just it would have been too much, way too much. So what do you do now in
Oh,
Kansas?
just oh, mainly like farm odd jobs. I occasionally get to fix pumping units on people's land.
So mechanical or farming?
Yeah, like mechanical, like oil wells.
Oh, okay. All right. Very good. Very good. Yeah. Um, have you always lived in Kansas?
Yeah, yeah. I was born in Emporia.
Are you a Royals fan?
Royals fan?
In
Oh,
Kansas
Kansas
City,
City. Yes.
Kansas City Royals, maybe
I'm
Kansas City Chiefs.
I'm not a huge sports fan, but I watched the last Super Bowl. My aunt's a big fan.
Okay. All right. All right. Very good. All right. Very good. Dr. Sharif, this is an honor. Uh,
Hello.
I am I am very happy to see you today. How are you?
Yes, I'm fine. How are you?
Excellent. Just excellent. We're going to talk about this some more, but let me tell you that I'm starting to get ready to provide the free PDF of the book to people so that they can start translating as long as they understand that it can't be released until May 1st. Okay, so if you know of somebody who wants to translate, and there's probably plenty of, well, I mean, there's probably plenty of software packages now that just translate stuff, right? So I mean, it may be a case where you just feed it to an AI of some nature. But anyway, if you know anybody who's interested in,
You can, I do translation, but I cannot finish Tom one because Tom did not send me any soft copy. So if you send me soft copy, I naturally do, me and my wife do the translation of different book. And we also publish book. So no problem. I will happy to support you.
very good.
And especially I work with university grant commissions. So it will be available to all of the university in South Asia.
I think that that's fantastic. I very much look forward to seeing this book. And by the way, of course, and Jacob, I'll introduce you to Jason. This is Korshai. Is that how I would pronounce your name on Discord, Jacob?
Yes, that is my Discord alias.
And-
Korshai.
And Korshai refers to what?
Korshai is a character in Slavic mythology.
Hey, a good one, a bad one, a mean one, a smart one?
Often depicted as a demon in stories, referred to as the Deathless One.
Okay, the deathless one. If you're into super longevity, that makes sense. All right, very good.
I am.
Yeah. So okay, so we're kind of
Yeah, I kind of feel like I know you already, man. You know, because we've been jabbering on Discord
Yeah.
on the USTP server. And I thought you was cool, so
great. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So what we're talking about, of course, Jacob, is we just recently published a book. Our opinions on what might be different ways of handling the economic singularity. It's on Amazon. It's very low cost, and when Amazon allows us, we're going to, which is May 1st, you can publish it any which way. So we're going to have a free version on our website, and then people across the world, if they want to, can translate it into any language and publish it for whatever price they want to. It could be free, or they could try to make money. We're not trying to control it. It's open source. And of course, we're starting, probably more next month, we'll start working on writing the next edition of the book. So we're open-ended on who can write and what they can write about. So anyway, that's what Dr. Sharif and I are starting to talk about. Dr. Sharif, the bioshelter is just on hold for a little while. I've had way too much work going on. This new design on Thursday, I finally had a major review of this. I invited 150 engineers to come in and look at this new design for all the commercial jets that we fly. And so it was to get that behind me is good, but I got a lot of travel in April. So let's see, but we'll start once, of course, we'll wait for Alan to show up. Alan is our managing editor, but we're going to start having what he calls read and critique. So that's where the authors get together and they read for a few minutes of what their writing is, and then folks provide a little bit of critique, criticism, suggestions, comments to help them improve their writing. So, and Jason, I'm sorry about yesterday that we couldn't have the Clio Dynamics super forecasting.
that was cool because I spaced it. I was I was babysitting the granddaughter. You know, she's so cute.
Yeah. Well, the truck stopped running in the middle of the highway, so I obviously was not going to be able to be at that meeting. We have one new member coming on as well. Hello, Nikki. Nikki, we're still kind of waiting for everybody to show up. Nikki is a new member. Jacob is also a new member. The other folks on the line are Dr. Sharif, Jason Geringer, and Alora Blackstone. Nikki is a software programmer and she's in the state of Washington. She is working on and I believe you're the founder of the company for a company that is into monitoring cryonics patients. I think that is the topic. Is that correct?
Yes, not monitoring them in the doer, but monitoring them before they need cryonics.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. I did listen to your salon with Gennady. It was very good. You're very well spoken, very intelligent, and I thought this is somebody who's into transhumanism, very much into tech, and I think I've emphasized with everybody that because we all have very different opinions politically, economically, we all have to be pretty respectful of each other. This is kind of unusual in this day and age where we've got one fella who's a communist. A number of folks are libertarian. All kinds of different ideas on how to handle the problem with AI and robotics take all the jobs. But so far, everybody's been very well behaved, let's say, over the last couple of years. So I'm very glad that you joined us today, Nikki.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. I had no idea you guys existed. I saw the book that you linked. I did transhumanist writing a long time ago. And so it's like you're gonna be triggering me to like rethink about some of these topics that I haven't thought about for quite a while, like on the order of 10 years or so.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And, I'll say that, for example, Laura's on, and I don't think Ben Baldwin is going to make it, but a fairly common approach is to kind of watch what's going on for a year, watch the book process, and perhaps write next year. Now, I would prefer folks just jump in and start writing what you think. However anybody feels is fine by us. I'm looking for a wide variety of opinions. We're not anywhere near the point of starting to think about, well, of all of these, which one is the right one, right? I don't think that's we're ready to even start evaluating those. But however you feel comfortable in your writing, we're ready and happy that you're going to join us. Same for you, Jacob. I don't know how you feel about the writing. If you feel like writing a chapter, you have an opinion on how to handle the economic singularity, but no, you just think about it.
Thank
okay?
you.
Sure. Yeah. And we'll talk about this in a minute. I hope that Alan shows up. We have 2 full weeks of podcasts that we're doing starting on Monday. Each author has got a day. The podcast is with somebody who ran for the USTP presidential campaign in 4 years ago in 2020. Kristan T. Harris. He's got a podcast out of Milwaukee, I believe it is, Milwaukee in Wisconsin. And so each day, one of the authors is going to be on there and have a discussion with Kristan about not only their chapter, but a wide variety of other things. So you may have a chance to listen to the different authors over the next couple of weeks. We'll try to make sure we have very good links for everybody. Okay, Alora, looks like you're I'm starting to read all your comments here.
I got my sound figured out. It's all good.
Good. Right, so we're 4 minutes in. I don't know what's happening with Alan. Sometimes he forgets about us. I didn't check on him. So what we'll do is we'll just start.
Okay.
Go ahead, Alora.
Oh, I'm just looking forward to the podcasts these coming weeks here. It'll be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's Kristan is a very good guy. Of course, he's not only a good journalist, and by the way, if you were watching what happened, the shooting in, oh boy, and now I'm spacing. It was near Milwaukee. He covered it. He was there. This was yeah. I'm going to go off in the wrong direction and talk about things that I can't remember exactly. Kristan is a journalist, but he also is an entertainer. So there may be some topics that are a little bit more fringy. Okay. We'll get to that in a second. So, okay, so the agenda for today, well, first of all, let's talk about the new members. Nikki Olson, we've been talking to her, cryonics monitoring. As she pointed out, it's not monitoring during the cryonics procedure, but beforehand to make sure that the cryonics procedure is done very quickly after someone passes. And then Jacob, I'm going to take a hack at your last name, Jacob, called Bruno.
Colbruno? Yes.
Okay, Jacob is joining us. There are 3 other members that I've invited, but they're located in Africa, and they'll most likely show up on the Atlantic schedule, which is alternating with this. Today is a Pacific schedule. On Woka, Frederick, Isaac, Excellent, and Osinakachi Kalu. Okay, so those 3 are invited. But the agenda, of course, the person that I really want here is Alan to talk about the current status of book sales. I did an analysis last week on the sales so far, how many, which country, and it was very obvious, by the way, that there was a spurt of buying. Everything's very low levels. Nothing of this is high quantities, right? But it was very obvious that right during or after a podcast, there'd be pretty good sales. And then for about 1 week, and then for the next 7 days, nothing would sell at all. And then we'd have another podcast and there'd be another 7 days of selling and then nothing at all. So there's a very clear correlation between if we do a podcast and if we get any sales. So again, the purpose in the book, the sales, is not to make anyone rich. We'll never get rich off these books. It's to get the word out.
Right.
As Nikki was saying, she didn't know about this group at all. 2 years ago, when we started this group, very few people were concerned about robots taking jobs or AI taking jobs. So we got a little bit of a head start, but things are happening much faster than we expected. After the book sales, I was going to talk a little bit about the podcasts. We've got them every day for the next couple weeks. And Kristan had a comment. I'm talking about potentially adding a 3rd week. Ben Ballwig might join us. Luis might join us. And I said, well, what if we had enough people for a 3rd week? And he said his big concern is diversity in topics. As long as there is large contrast, he's open to doing a 3rd week. You can imagine his audience might get bored if every single day the topic is robots over and over and over and taking all the jobs, blah, blah, blah. So he listed some of the things on his mind: AI, cloning, designer babies, smart dust. Then he said AI again, weather modification, robots, drones, flying cars, holograms. What's not in here is some of my favorite stuff, mind uploading, super longevity. I'm sure that Nikki could talk through cryonics if she wanted, right? There's all kinds of topics. So we've got 2 weeks, and the term we're using for them is futurism weeks. If anybody else would like to go on a podcast and talk about futurism, we're setting it up. One thing, just a second, Dr. Sharif, it's not just book authors. Gennady is going to be on. Tom Ross has a day, and Dan Tweed is also. So we got the president, the vice president, and the chairman of the USTP each have their own day. Gennady is going to be pre-recorded because the times for the live show are no good for him. So pre-recording is an option if you'd prefer rather than a live episode. Go ahead, Dr. Sharif.
No, thank you. You have a very good plan, but I'm just thinking that how we can increase your sales of book. Number one, we can translate. Number two, through our channel, let's say University Grant Commission, hopefully a very good channel, we can introduce your book to different university. Only in Bangladesh, we have 160 private university and more than 80 million people. And third things, I don't know if you have ability or something, if we can introduce some kind of hackathons or project developments or any case competitions with your book idea, people gonna integrate it, because many people I saw, they published book, but it does not have real action. When Tom visit Bangladesh, I also say you can attend in the book fair or something. So this can be some innovative way we can introduce to the youth community through your book projects. Maybe they can engage with you more, and this OmniFuturist group action is important, like, because I'm also too much busy all of the time. I cannot attend in the meeting because it takes a lot of time. But if there is some action and activities, then people has more interest to read book or buy book or engage with the project.
Well, I really like the translation idea, and I'm glad that you're ready to go with Bangla or Bangladesh. I'm going to be going to Brazil. I've got some engineers that I'm working with in Brazil, so Portuguese is certainly an option. My first wife was Mexican. My kids are all bilingual, so we're probably going to do a Spanish version. Somebody around there of our connections is going to want to translate it into Spanish. We'll see who. I'm open to any translation into any language. So I think that's a great idea. The second part that where you were talking about projects, Jacob and Nikki, one of the things that I've talked to this group about is what I call bioshelters. My perspective on the economic singularity is that, at least in America, the federal government won't prepare. And I expect a tidal wave of unemployment and no federal program to house them or feed them. And so my chapter is about how people could just, it's more like a survival mechanism rather than flourishing abundance. I believe that the economic singularity is going to end up being a transition period. It's not forever. I think at some point, artificial superintelligence will get to the point, the robots that are coming up rapidly get to the point where the entire planet is going to be inundated with good food and housing and so forth. But this transition from where we are to that future is going to be quite difficult. And so for both climate change and for housing, what I had suggested was, instead of traditional composites, perhaps using biocomposites. And so I've started doing some research into various biocomposite panels. I've done a lot of composite design in aerospace, so I'm comfortable with that. And the model to use would be the pellet shelter company, which is local to us. Nikki, they're in Everett. And what they do is for a lot of these, if you ever look at the homeless shelters nowadays, they've got these very small little cabins, all white, made out of about 6 different composite panels that are easily, quickly bolted together. But those, of course, are made out of petroleum-based composites, right? It's epoxy with probably fiberglass fibers. If you use biological materials for both the fibers and the epoxies, you could sequester plenty of carbon, especially if you include biochar. So anyway, when Dr. Sharif talks about a project, taking action is something that I am devoted to. It's not enough to just talk about it. It's not enough to write about it. You need to do something. And because my perspective is so pessimistic, my version of life is, how do we make small market farms where people can grow their own food to survive with these small shelters until things get turned around? And besides this group, I'm starting another group called Agroforesters Guild. And I'm doing some pilot projects right now in beet hazelnuts and gourmet mushrooms to try to, get some, methods of growing local food here. Obviously, we're not going to do what Jacob has. Jacob's in Kansas. The wheat fields there are pretty well known. I grew up in Illinois, right? Those cornfields, Jason Geringer's there in Illinois. Those cornfields are like endless. Those don't happen here, right? Dr. Sharif's in Bangladesh. One of the things we identified right away was jute fibers could be very good for composites. And then Alora's in Saskatchewan. And, the linseed oil and the flax that's grown near her would be perfect for this. So there's things besides the book. There's things besides podcasts that we want to do. The book is not the end of what we're trying to do. But my perspective, by the way, I'm almost done babbling. I read recently the book Small is Beautiful from the early 70s. And I really like the idea of going small and slow, doing quality and kind of permanent, because permaculture is something I really like a lot, right? So I am not interested in trying to ramp this up into some conglomeration, okay? I'm not trying to do growth for growth's sake. I'm not interested in profit for profit's sake. So none of this is a quick get rich quick scheme. It's like the opposite. Sorry. Okay. I want to be really upfront about this. I don't want people to feel like that, we're going to make a mountain of gold out of this stuff. So let me stop for a moment and just see if there's any comments, or go ahead. Go ahead, Doctor.
Yeah, for your project, actually, I said you before, I'm right. I'm very much interested to know more about your book and inside content. Yeah, I think when Tom visit, he visit our different projects in Bangladesh. So housing is a very big issue for Bangladesh and India. Can you hear me? Okay. And second thing, hello. Okay. And second important things, Mike is here or?
I don't know what happened. Yeah, Mike, your picture went dark.
Okay. Okay, I can continue.
Well,
And
it's being recorded. It's okay.
okay. And second important thing is that as we are developing projects in Western Australia. Mm, they are also working with housing, especially Perth, as well as in Queensland. And second thing is about this permacultures and the agricultural issues. I think we are also working from Bangladesh and Dubai. So we are also focusing on agriculture. But I want to know more about the book, uh, about the contents and what's going on. If you have a innovative housing solutions, our research lab can integrate it with these things, and hopefully it will be very interesting.
So can he
I
get
think
back
that
in or what?
I
He
think that
was
he
the
should.
host, right?
So it like
Yeah,
defaulted
I
to
think he
being
should
me
be
the
able
host.
to. Okay,
Yeah.
do you see a tab for weight room?
Yeah, no, it's not, there's nothing showing up yet.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm keeping the Zoom open so that I can see if he's trying to get in.
Okay.
Yep.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Cool.
Laura, you said you're from Saskatchewan, or Mike said you're from
Yeah.
Saskatchewan? Whereabouts in Saskatchewan?
Saskatoon.
Okay, I was born in Yorkton. My family was
What? I lived in Yorkton for like years and years and years, so
okay. I don't
families
remember.
probably know each other.
I was only like one, and then we moved. But my family's from Humboldt. My dad's from Regina. My mom's from Saskatoon, I think. So we used to go to Saskatchewan all the time. I was in Canada until about 10 years ago.
All right on. Small
Yeah.
world.
Yes, small world.
I'll never forget one time I went to Mexico with my family, and it's me and my dad and my auntie and uncle, and we're sitting in this tour guide's vehicle, bombing through the jungle. And he said something about, oh, you guys are from Yorkton. And he goes, go Terriers. And we're like, how do you know our local hockey team? And he's like, he married someone from Yorkton.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. So
Well, the Humboldt like hockey team was famous, I think, because something happened to the bus. And
yeah,
it's like
yeah.
Humboldt is like there's one 7-Eleven, and that's like the most exciting thing there. It's like the smallest town ever. But yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, we really have to drive a lot to get anywhere, hey? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, Mike, what happened?
Is it
Oh, I just saw
mountainous?
his message. Look at the messaging meetings and events tab in Discord. He said we lost power. Oh no. Well, yeah,
Okay.
that's too bad. Well,
So then,
no, we can just hang out for a while.
he still should be able to jump on with his phone if he's on Discord. He should be able.
Yeah.
He'll engineer a solution.
Yeah, he is an engineer.
Yeah. Um,
So,
I'll make sure that we pick up on that conversation though, because I think that's what he wants is this idea that he has with the with the boards that, yes, to build those shelters out of that. And so getting that like up and tested and stuff, and like he knows all about patents too, so yeah, that would be cool. I'll make sure that he continues that. But yeah,
The
Jason, what were you
carbon-
gonna say?
the carbon sequestering idea is a good idea.
Yeah.
'Cause has to be part
Yep.
of the solution. Because we're not going to be able to go off of fossil fuels fast enough. And
No.
also, there's a problem with getting all of like the raw materials like lithium and copper. We're going to have a whole lot more of that stuff for batteries, and so that's going to be hard. the answer is going to have to be technology that cleans it up. You know,
Well, every bit of mined metal has a certain amount of diesel fuel that's baked into that supply chain.
right? Exactly. You know, and so I think, you know, and plus it's, you know, I hate to be realist, but you know, all the militaries of the world are dependent on that, so it's not going anywhere. You know what I mean? Anytime there's
Oh,
a
yeah.
national security thing, that always takes first priority. And so yeah, that's why there's this one, and she was on Sharif's show a few times. Viva Kundalip, I think is how you pronounce it. She's got some kind of thing where it hydroxyls or something that takes the carbon out of the air. I don't understand the science of it, so I can't even really for sure say that it would work or not, because it's, you know, maybe above my head. But that's something that that's the direction I think we should go. Actually go out there and clean it up, you know. I mean, because, you know, fossil fuels are not necessarily bad in of themselves. You know what I mean? It's the pollution that happens, you know.
We're using them because they're extremely dense and they're portable.
And yeah, they're really useful. Yeah. You know, if we could just not make such a mess, it maybe wouldn't be such a bad deal, right?
Pipelines are actually pretty safe.
Way safer than trains.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, they don't have battery operated snowplows where I am, and man, they were out there all night moving snow because we had just a massive amount dumped on us recently, and yeah. I took a video of it. I don't know if you can see that, but like they were going by with one after another dump truck filling it up because there's only like 1 or 2 lanes on streets that need 3, you know, like that's how much snow we got. So they were taking it away. But like, yeah, we need it. So I think Saskatchewan and Alberta will fight tooth and nail if they try to take diesel and gas away. So
Well, you know, eventually we do need to, because there really is no reason that we have our power generation, you know, by burning like natural gas or coal. We shouldn't need to do that. We should be able to generate power, electricity, you know, green and efficient. You know what I mean?
well, let's
But when
figure
you
out
get into
nuclear.
wind and solar as your only grid, you get into intermittency issues because
Yeah.
they don't really idle up and down as you want them to because you're dependent on weather.
Yeah, it'll have
And
to be mixture of different. You need something
yeah,
Saskatchewan?
because like back in the day, I remember you had Enron that was lobbying hard for an electrical grid that was wind and solar backed up by natural gas because they knew that would make the price of electricity unstable, and they had a financial division that made money trading electricity.
Huh.
Dr. Sharif, were you going to say something? Sorry, I want to make sure we didn't cut you off.
No, it's actually nothing serious. I'm just working with Viva's research paper right now. I'm also translating her book. Viva's technology, actually reduction tech, reduce carbon from air.
Mm-hmm.
And she is actually very good at this technology. I'm actually helping her. I may visit Canada soon for commercialization all of her technology. I think she is very good, and we can invite her in the team, or if you want, I can invite her. But she has a very good solution in her hand, and it may be very helpful. Even already I discussed with this Australian government. They are also want to work with Canada for these things. So she has good future. Yeah, thank you, Jason. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, she sounds like she knows her stuff, but I still haven't wrapped my head around you know, the technology that she's using. So I can't like say, oh yes, it'll definitely work yet. But you know,
No, she just finished her prototype. So we are actually developing products, and when I visit her lab, we go for commercialization. She is very disciplined, very professional. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just saw a message from Mike. He says, no internet, no electricity. Someone with a backhoe probably cut all the lines. Please tell everyone that I probably can't get back to the meeting today. Sorry. So, yeah.
I think my friend can come to Bangladesh. We have good electricity.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the bioshelter, if it could, I think Mike's main point is that if it could be combined with something that is a carbon sequester and is uh takes carbon out of the environment or whatever, then it's like a win-win. And that there may be like government credits or something like that. The Chips and Science Act made all of these uh, innovation hubs that are springing up around. So uh, I imagine that we could probably qualify for something, you know. So it's a good idea. That's what I figure.
Yeah. I'm glad that I have exposure to this topic because this is really not like this is Mike's niche interest, This is not like I don't know much about energy or carbon or whatever. I think it's good. I think we'll be able to, mine the landfills for material that can be reused in this way, hopefully. So, and like he's right, like there's a lot of plant matter that just gets, left to burn where I am. So if we can use it for stuff like that,
Well,
I
there's
think
there's another business. I don't know if it's a business, but it's this idea of sequestering carbon. They take these like rafts or something that's out in the ocean, and they grow a big old kelp underneath of it, and it sails out, it grows full, and then it sinks, and so all of that goes down to the bottom, and so it's like sequestering carbon that way, which I imagine would probably work. I wonder how it's going. I haven't heard from it for a while, but I thought that was a neat idea. I think there's a whole kinds of we could be farming the ocean way better. I mean,
Oh, for sure.
we could be doing little things like that that would then foster all kinds of, like we should be making artificial coral reefs and, bringing the ocean back, you know.
I think hydro, like tidal power, has the best how do you say that? Material throughput, because it's like you're mostly using concrete, whereas if you're doing like solar, the amount of materials that you need versus what you get for output is like there's a huge discrepancy there. But then I think that it's better to do hydro. Where I am, I'm not near an ocean, but we got lots of like little bodies of water.
Yeah, see, that's gonna be the whole trick to it is in the different geographical locations, there's gonna be different um, things that like wind blows in this place and it don't blow in that place as much. You know what I mean? There's each geographic location is gonna have its own, some place ain't gonna get a lot of sun, some place ain't gonna get a lot of wind.
I saw a drilling technology called spalding that would allow for deep geothermal in areas that aren't volcanically active that I thought was interesting.
That's definitely the way to go because you can have that
That's
anyway.
cool.
Yeah, and it's very steady.
Mm-hmm.
because like conventional drilling equipment, once you get into that molten layer of the earth, starts to melt from the heat. But this particular, some mining tycoon was investing in this technology that basically uses electrical charges to vaporize rock. So there's no actual contact
Huh.
to get to those extreme depths you'd have to get.
Well, that's like what I was telling Mike about the bioshelter. If you only got to go down like 6-10 feet, and it's a constant temperature. So in the wintertime, it's 50 or 60 or whatever it is. Now you run a radiator, is just and blow air through there. Now you make, your at a it brings it up to 50 or whatever it is, the temperature of the earth. You know what I mean? And so then you only have to add a little bit more energy to get it from there to, wherever it is, and vice versa in the summertime. You know what I mean? So, and you you don't have to go that far down for a Stirling engine to work. Where as long as there's a differential of temperature, then you could get a Stirling engine to work. That's why they put them at the bottom of wells and stuff like that. But hang on, I'll be right.
Sure. I'm just looking up this thing my friend sent me about there we go. He's really into plasma technology, and like he's telling me about these thunderstorm generators and what's this? I'm just gonna find some links and throw them in the Discord because I don't know about this stuff really well, and I want to see if it's even possible. So you never know, it's the internet.
Okay, what
Be
was
cool to
it?
get an engineer's take.
You-
One sec here.
Trying to get the energy from the thunderstorms?
Transmute carbon emissions to oxygen. An open source invention that reduces carbon emissions from combustion engines to zero and doubles fuel efficiency. Let me open this
Mm,
and get the link. Yeah, let's see if it's legit.
yeah, I've I've seen some that didn't end up being legit, I don't think. So like there was one that supposedly, would burn oil and then no carbon was coming out. And it's like, how's that happening? Yeah, there's
Yeah, man, like I say,
facilities,
it's the
there's all kinds of new technology coming out, and there's old technology from Tesla that we still haven't really even, put to good use yet. There's lots of ways of making energy that we still haven't tapped yet. Not really. It's because we had oil. It's, but
There's a lot of very
yeah.
exciting things going on in nuclear right now.
well, yeah, I think nuclear still has a future,
Because it's baseload power that's stable, and that's especially important for industrial applications where you might be running things like molding machines and things that, like, if the grid has a small interruption, your operation is seriously derailed.
hmm Yeah, you need something for the base load.
Especially as you have more automation, so there's more and more machines you're counting on that if the electricity goes out for a minute, their whole parameters can be thrown off.
Yeah, there's, nuclear got a bad rap because we, used it to make bombs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, the same guy that, designed the nuclear reactors that also designed, thorium reactors. And so,
Yeah, which the
but we didn't go
thorium
that
reactors
route.
were invented here in the States, but they never went mainstream because the Nixon administration favored the breeder reactors to farm plutonium.
Exactly. we wanted the
Oh, I found something.
product, which is nuclear fuel for bombs. You know,
Yeah, I really hope nuclear is, like, I hope that we just invest more in nuclear.
well,
Maybe
there's
for
safer
selfish reasons,
ways
because,
to do it. You know, besides trying to produce nuclear bomb material.
Well,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
nuclear makes
sure.
sense for a civilization where life is getting better because it's denser than fossil fuels.
Mm.
Like, look at this thing I just put in the chat, material throughput by type of energy source. And you look at solar and like how much glass, steel, cement is used, and it's like in tons. And then nuclear, just like a little sliver. Just so I mean, yeah. And then we're finding out that we can reuse nuclear waste and get more out of it. Isn't that a thing that just is just on the horizon here? I'm gonna ask ChatGPT.
Well, you know, you could. It just gets diminishing returns because it has a half-life. And so,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
if you got like a power plant, they're gonna be like, okay, we expect to at least get this much energy, and when it drops below this point, then but you know, there's still energy left in there. It's
Yeah,
just
there's
Made me think of lithium batteries, which is funny. I just went to Staples today and got my refunded money on a set of JBL headphones that exploded in my house. Like they caught fire, and they weren't even plugged in. But I'm just like, this is the future we have to live with you know, going forward with electric cars and lithium batteries. Just like the risk is there that they can just start on fire.
well, yeah, and
well,
if you take all the transportation electric, once
I
again,
think
that's even more demand on the grid, so energy production has to
Uh-huh.
rise.
mhm, I think we're gonna have to
Oh my
figure out a
God.
better battery. We're gonna have
Yeah.
to figure out a better battery that doesn't use lithium. You know,
Yeah. This is a slide that I took from, this is from India.
lithium's
India
one of
faces high
the
risks of power cuts.
lithium's one of those alkali ones that react with oxygen. You know what I mean?
Oh, the fires.
Yeah, there's that sodium, potassium, all that stuff. It'll react with water. That's why you can't, you know, it'll react with the oxygen in the air. It'll take the oxygen from the water, and yeah,
Yeah, that's terrifying that those can just burst into flames.
Mm-hmm. It
yeah.
was like white smoke filled my apartment. It's just this big too. Like you got stories about these electric car batteries being submerged in water and then they take them out and they reignite somehow. Like,
Yeah, it kind of scares me. My husband has he has an electric bike and he charges this giant battery for it right behind my head on the couch. And it makes this sound. I'm like, I don't know, I just don't feel comfortable with this. The chances of it exploding are pretty low, but still, it seems like it's such a powerful thing. It's like, you know, compressed or whatever it is to explode in huge magnitude. So
Well, you know, Tesla's vision was that it would be all high frequency and the little stuff you could get through the airwaves. And I imagine, as far as mass transit, if you had a, you know, the rails, magnets in the rails, then the car itself would be the only thing that would need to be refrigerated to where you get a superconductor going. Uh, and so you wouldn't have to like, because when the hard part about getting the superconductor phenomenon going on to where you get that free levitation, uh, you know, is the energy you get put into the refrigeration. So that would only have to be on the cars. You could do that. So I imagine, you know, that's probably the way we'll go eventually.
well, let's hope that they figure it out.
You know, then you don't have to, the AI car doesn't it don't have to have like the smarts to not run over kids because it's on a track. It's not gonna run. And also, you can have a debris on the track, and if you're hovering with a superconductor over it, it'll go right over top of that. So, of course, that's weird. I don't know why.
I was laughing. I was laughing at the amount of stuff that we need to make satellites, and how many satellites we have up there right now. At the end of June 2023, there was 11,330 satellites. That's a lot.
Hasn't Elon Musk been like putting up a bunch, and isn't there supposed to be a bunch
A
more?
lot.
A lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Says the global small satellite market size is to grow from USD 3 billion in 2022 to 13.2 billion by 2032. So yeah, this is from an article called The Carbon Footprint of a Satellite.
So that's pretty
Yeah.
interesting. You know,
Yeah.
it's like there's only one space above the Earth. You know what I mean? And it's like the first guy that got there get to fill it up.
You know what we need to put up there?
Yeah.
A solar shade. You could make it as big as you want it. You can move it around the earth. At that point, you could like control the temperature if you wanted to. You know, you could put it over the desert so that it doesn't get as much sun, because we're gonna green the desert in this place.
That seems like the end game for an advanced enough civilization to actually enact control over the climate of its planet to facilitate life. Because there's no guarantee that nature is just going to hand you optimal conditions.
Mhm. You would need countries to work together for something like that, because it could very easily be turned into a weapon with mirrors. So I mean, like, you'd have to have people sign off on, like, we're not going to use this for war, it's only going to be for good. And I think that was the point of something like the United Nations. I just think that they're so powerless that it's a joke already.
Yeah, the United Nations has not had a good run.
No.
Yeah. I think drones are going to seriously affect the power dynamic because asymmetric warfare, when you have like a military that's like way superior, and then you have an under, you know, drones are an equalizer of in certain places, and it's upsetting the balance, and it will upset the balance. And so this has happened before in history, like, the dreadnoughts,
Yeah.
went away. Then we had battleships, and then those became obsolete when we got aircraft carriers. Now, this is just speculation, but I think these drones are going to eventually make aircraft carriers go obsolete, and we won't make them anymore. Now, granted, we have already built them, so we're going to use them. So it's not like we're just going to put them away or whatever. We're going to use them until they're done. But I don't think we should keep going with this whole having this everything concentrated in this ginormous, aircraft carrier, when everything could be more spread out, decentralized. Because that's what the enemy is going to be doing. They can do it for cheap. They'll be able to put, they'll be able to send 10,000 drones after an aircraft carrier. And I don't care how many missiles, you're not going to have 10,000 missiles in that whole fleet. You know what I mean? It's it's gonna upset things. But anyway,
Yeah, I've seen some crazy footage. I don't know if it's how real it is, but on Telegram, if I go looking for tech videos, like there's some where these drones are just like stalking people. You can watch them hover around a place where someone's hiding and they'll find you, and they just fly into you and explode. And it's like, okay,
yeah,
wow,
it's
it's disturbing.
a whole new kind of like warfare. There's literally no place on the entire battlefield that is not observed. Nobody can move without the both sides knowing about it, because the recon is so good. They get every square inch of the battlefield can see it.
Oh yeah.
And so that's never been before in history. And it's down to the unit level. You know what I mean? I mean, sure, back a little ways, the commanders would have satellites and blah 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 blah, but this intel is like on the unit level, so it's
I think that what we're allowed to see is like down here, and what military really has is like, like have you ever seen
sure.
what's it called? What's it called? Something of God.
Oh.
It's
Hammer of
like
God,
Oh, that crazy
like
Rods of God space
Rod of
weapon.
God, that's it, Rod of
like
God,
a rail gun pointed towards the earth
tungsten
and
rod.
Well, it just
yes.
reminds me of Einstein saying that he was certain that the Fourth World War would be fought with sticks and stones. Very much frightens me.
Yep. Yeah, there's yeah.
Is
I go
the
back and
exact quote
forth.
was something like, I have no idea what weapons will be used in the Third World War, but I am certain that the Fourth will be fought with sticks and stones.
Yeah, I go back and forth between do I want to see the world with decentralization, or is that like a dream? Like we're gonna have a force that's so much more advanced than everything else that it's really gonna have the say. But whether they want to whether they want us to know that or not is another thing. It's kind of like how even if people don't have free will, you'd want them to believe that they had free will. Even if we don't have a democracy, you'd want people to believe they had a democracy. So that's, I mean, yeah, tech's gone crazy. So I think, yeah, we only see a portion of what's really out there.
Yeah, I think for my part, when we first started this group, we went through like a list of books, and my book suggestion was Peter Zion's The End of the World. It is just beginning or whatever. And
Cool.
so that's probably what I'll probably write a chapter about and go off that, where he was right and where I think he was probably wrong. Uh, you know, so there's a whole bunch of interesting, like he don't where he goes wrong now is the AI. He don't have a full understanding, I don't think, about, you know, I mean, he's starting to. I can tell that he's, been getting it lately because he just had a thing anyway. Uh, he, but he makes a good point, and this goes to the economic singularity of whether or not we're going to have it and when. Is that the chips? All of this stuff. How much is this going to be dependent on the chips? You know what I mean?
Yep.
I mean, and if something happens to, you know, the supply of chips, because like what happens if China invades Taiwan and those all go away? We live in a different world now. I'm guessing that way slow down this whole economic singularity thing if we ain't got the chips to make the stuff, you know.
Well, even underneath the chips, there's the supply chains for metallurgical grade quartz, which is an
Yeah,
extremely rare material.
yeah. And you know, and so all of that depends on the shipping lanes and this and free trade and everything being copacetic and everybody getting their stuff and shipping out their stuff and everybody working together and blah blah blah. And we're reaching a point where the United States is sort of stepping back from going to be guarding all that free trade. And not only that, but with drone technology, it's going to be way easier for just anybody and their brother Daryl to go out there and disrupt global shipping lanes, like what we're seeing with the Houthis. That technology is going to get easier and easier, and cheaper to do, I think. So
Did you see this?
you
The Wall Street Journal article, China says it's prepared to lead the global economy if necessary.
yeah, that's going to be tough for China. China imports food and oil. I mean, when any nation, it has to have certain stuff. It's just food,
Well, you can pursue
energy.
autarky, but you're going to be poorer than you would otherwise be without comparative advantage.
You know, that's
So, I mean,
why.
for example,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, like, for example, you mean China, I suppose, could become more insular and depend more on importing food and energy from Siberia, but they're going to pay higher prices if they refuse to shop around on the global market.
That's why I seriously wonder about what China's going to do. You know, because I think it's only a matter of time before these global shipping, and supply chains, break down here and there, and China's really dependent on that.
Well, if
And so all of it, what it needs is right north of it in Siberia. Just like you said, it needs water. That lake, Baikal, I think it is.
Lake Baikal,
Yeah,
yeah,
China would probably love to have that water. You know,
although the thing about water is we're already pumping tons of water out of the ground. In fact, here in the States, the oil industry produces 8 barrels of water for every barrel of oil it produces. Now, yes, there's salt in it and such, but there's a lot of things you can use that water for.
that's another problem the states are facing is the Ogallala Aquifer.
Yeah,
They only have like 10 or 20 years left on it, maybe, or something.
I know that that's what China and India are still going back and forth over the water in the Himalayas.
Yeah. See, that's why I wonder if China's going to look north to solve all its problems. Uh, and that's going to depend on what happens with Russia and Ukraine, probably. So it's going to be
Well, it
interesting.
makes sense in the sense that Siberia is underpopulated and has a lot to offer.
It's it's all up to Xi. I mean, that's why another reason why it's so hard to know what they're going to do, because it's only up to one guy pretty much. So, you know, I, you know, I would think they want them, them shipping lanes to stay as cool as they can, you know,
Well,
for as
life
long
in
as they
China
can.
could get real miserable real fast if the international shipping of oil out of the Middle East were to shut down.
Yeah.
It would hurt here, but not nearly as bad as it would in China because China produces very little of its own energy.
Yeah. We're at a surplus now. And so,
Well, yeah, like the cheapest natural gas on the planet is in the United States right now because every time they go fracking in the Permian, they're getting a bunch of gas as a byproduct, yet they
as
don't
a
stop drilling
byproduct,
because oil prices. because oil prices are so high, it pays for the drilling, and the gas is just a byproduct to be gotten rid of.
Right.
It's why we have chemical and fertilizer plants being
Mhm.
relocated to the United States.
Right. China needs all that stuff. Needs
Yeah, just cheap
fertilizer,
organic molecules.
potash.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they mine a lot of that in Canada.
Yeah, you gotta have that for, food.
Oh yeah,
You know,
modern agriculture lives on that stuff. Here
yeah.
in Kansas in Coffeyville, there's a refinery that actually makes nitrogen fertilizer out of crude oil.
That's why actually, it's looking pretty good for the US, really. I mean, we got enough oil, we got enough.
Yeah, the basics of food and energy, because even
Yeah,
like it's no coincidence that World War II was won by the side that had the three largest oil producing nations on it: the United States, the Soviet Union, and Canada at the time.
yeah. So things will be changing. Gonna be interesting. Yeah, we're oh
Yeah, anytime you guys want to call it, we can just have a short hangout. We
yeah, it
just
looks like we're running out of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, because that kind of derailed us having Mike disappear.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
all good. I like just getting together to talk like this anyway. It's pretty chill.
Yeah.
I think people are probably working on getting their podcast material ready for the week coming up here. So I'm actually stoked to be doing this because I like these fringe topics that this guy talks about. Like I I like the culture around AI, and it's got a lot of cool occult stuff around it too. So I'm
I have
glad that
been
I'll
having
be
so
able to
much
just
fun playing with Gemini lately.
yeah. So I'll just be able to riff on it and not necessarily talk about robots taking jobs because my contributions were like artistic anyway. I didn't really have any research. I just had, you know, my poetry, and so
Yeah, I didn't know I didn't know they was gonna put them in there. Stuff like that. And it's pretty
yeah,
cool.
I'm glad because I feel I have this need to say something to the world, and I like that I have that medium that I can share some of my work that way. But
There's a bunch of
yeah.
people in the waiting room. Someone just called iPad. I think that might be Mike, or then there's Ben, Cam, William, Louie, and Sci-Fi Ellen. Do we
Oh
know?
my God, really?
Oh,
How do we let them
Oh,
in?
Alan.
Let those. Do we know all those people? I'll let them in.
yeah. Just let him in. Just let him in. It's all good. Dr. Sharif has to go, so um,
Oh,
yeah.
All these are all the otter pilots.
Yeah, the other pilots. And there's my Firefly note
Amber
taker.
Put-
Hey,
I'm an
Alan,
airplane
are you
pilot.
there?
Oh, good.
Oh, hello, all.
Hi.
Hello.
You missed
Am I in the
Mike.
right? What's that? I'm looking for the right place.
Yeah.
I went to the link in the Zoom invite, and that didn't work. So I went to Discord and clicked the link there, which I thought was going to be for the Discord meeting, but I came here for a meeting instead. So
Hey,
after
you
all
just
that,
reminded me. Let me see if I can log into Zoom and change that timing, because somehow the timing on the Zoom got messed up, but I fixed it on the Discord tab. So
okay.
yeah, but you saw the Discord recently, like Mike was here, and then his power got cut off, so he's out.
Yeah.
Ooh, yikes.
Oh,
Yikes.
Yeah.
what's up, Dan? Killer
I
beard
guess we
you got going on, bro. The wise one.
Is Dr. Sharif still with us?
Oh, he left.
He had to go. Yeah, he
Oh.
stayed for an hour and just kind of
Yeah.
listened to us talk about energy,
Oh, yeah. Is it,
renewable energies
Am
and stuff. So
Yeah.
am I an hour late?
yeah, that's okay.
Okay, all right,
That's not your
sorry,
fault. We're gonna try to figure this out here.
Well, I thought I was, but then the meeting reminder said it was at 8 o'clock my time, so I'm not sure what I was like. Oh, well, I'm all time. I'm going to be here,
Oh.
but anyway, yeah. So I wanted to tell Dr. Sharif. I don't know if this is happening with any of y'all. I get invited to his forums the day after. So
Huh.
every Saturday I get one for his forum on Friday night. So maybe I ought to figure that out. It's on Friday night, but I don't know how to get in without an invitation, which he always sends the day after. So I don't know.
Okay. Well, he's responded to some of our email chains, so maybe email him that.
You know, that usually happens with me too, with his email, if it's an email. But if he sends one in like Facebook Messenger, that's usually
Oh,
beforehand.
okay.
But yeah, the
I'm wondering
ones
if oh, go ahead, Jason.
I was just saying the ones I get in the email from him too are a day late. Yeah.
I'm wondering if that's because the international date line or something. Email's got trouble figuring that out.
No, it's because the future is always arriving early.
You're looking well there, Dan. How's it going?
Oh, I drove by some people doing a house remodel, and I got like a whole bunch of their stuff, like doors and carpet
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
fence and parts. So yeah, I've been
And there's
and
sunshine in here. I mean, here it looks like this.
oh yeah.
Amazing what a difference a few miles can make.
I'm sorry about the background noise. I can't find my mic mute controls
No
on this.
So the sun is still out where you're at, Dan, apparently. That's true.
Yeah, I know. It's allows the farmers to keep working their crops there.
Well, welcome to Jacob and Nikki. Y'all are new faces to me, so hello, welcome.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
hello. Thank you.
Okay, yep.
Oh, before I forget, can I share some music with you guys, Nikki and Jacob? I'll just show you like what I do.
Sure,
My
yeah.
transhumanist music.
Sure.
Oh, nice, yeah.
So I by the way, I had volunteered to help Mike with admin stuff when I was unemployed, and now I have a job, so I'm busier these days. So if you guys got time, maybe like I don't know, I'm just saying maybe he needs help with stuff. I don't know, but I'm sure there'll be stuff for people to do if you want stuff to do. He wants me to write a chapter about cybernetics. And so I'm gonna start researching that next week. I got some ideas, but
Well, I was researching or drafting outlines for my topic, and then I realized what time it was. Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about all kinds of stuff, man. You know, I already, geez, energy and just, all kinds of stuff. You missed it. Of course, I guess it's being recorded, so. You know,
Yeah, I'll have to catch the recording. I'm sure. Sure. I missed the Clio Dynamics yesterday. I mean, I was ready for it, but I guess Mike wasn't.
Oh yeah, his truck problems. Yeah, I wonder how
Oh,
that
that's
went.
right. That's right. He was stuck on a bridge.
Yeah.
Could I ask what Clio Dynamics is?
it's basically
Yeah, I
a
do that.
forecasting method using history and math. Just
Oh,
a
okay, cool. I thought maybe it was the biochar thing for a second.
no, we talked
Um,
about that earlier though. We was thinking about inviting Viva because she's got her hydrolysis technology or whatever. It might, be interesting here. But anyway.
I'd be interested in hearing about that for sure.
Yeah, her
Um,
hydroxyl process. Go look at her virtual enlightenment salon. It's an amazing, really comprehensive scientific process for totally cleaning not just the carbon dioxide out of the air, but fixing the whole hydrological cycle. And yeah, it's a really comprehensive approach to the ecosystem problem.
Okay, let's find that link. Viva, I found it. That was pretty quick. Are you still not in Discord? Because there's like a tab for Clio Dynamics now. And I mean, like, I'm not really sure what's going on with it, but I like that there's resources there so that when I have time, I can go and look it up and see like what you guys are sharing, what like I enjoyed doing the questions for Alan. He had some questions and wanted people's answers to them about it was futurism
You're the
topics.
you're the only one that said you've enjoyed it, so thank you.
No,
Made me want to watch Star Trek.
in the Clio Dynamics channel, there's like questions. There's threads in there with different questions, and basically we're making predictions, and
Right on.
fairly near future, ones predictions and predictions that can be either right or wrong and are measurable, not just all vague, And so, we're just gonna give it a shot, you know, start
Yeah,
seeing,
so you guys have talked a lot about it in the last little while here. So yeah, I mean, you guys should get some witness for that, and hopefully other people will get interested in it as well. So
And here's my effort to get you guys interested in it. I mean, I think it's a really cool idea. I I was not swayed by the author's book, that numbers and history can create some sort of super forecasting system any more than I was before when I already went into the topic, right? I mean, it just makes sense to me that, oh yeah, if you got accurate history and relatively accurate, within a pretty good measure, and you figure out a way to measure it, and I was really intrigued every time the author would say, oh, and I'll cover how we did that in the appendices. And he goes through all these great examples, which I don't want to discount because the writing's really pretty good. He talks about historical examples, but without a lot of detail. Very good for listening on audiobook. It's not, doesn't throw a lot of math formulas at you or anything. But I was getting my pencil and paper ready when we got to the appendices so I could figure out how is this done exactly. That's what we want to do in our group. And it was sort of like, well, we got $1 million research grant, a bunch of interns and a few experts, and it's like, okay, wait a minute, that's not what I'm looking for. I could, it's like, that's that he doesn't really do a good job, and part of that is because hey, that's their business now is they do forecasting, so they want large organizations to come to them to get forecasts made. But along the way, there is some pretty good practical advice about, if you there are ways to measure how well you're doing, and he does list them in passing. So my plan is to go back in there and find them all. But the other thing is like to get good at forecasting, you have to actually practice forecasting. You can't just read a book about it, which makes really good sense. So, yeah, he has two big theories, which he calls the economic pump and the overproduction of elites, which it sort of hit me in the shower the day after I finished the book that, oh, that's politics and economics. So yeah, those are the big drivers, politics and economics, and those things change periodically in big ways, and there's tends to be other trends. So, and if you have a team of graduate students, you can figure out what all those little trends are. But other than that, without our team of graduate students, we're just working on our own to kind of make predictions. And Jason and Mike have been doing a bang up job of that on Discord. I haven't really gotten in there yet, but
Well, I haven't actually, put the numbers down in my predictions yet. I think we'll still have to probably work on that system. I'd like to make it easier. It'd be nice if I want to start using Google Forms, so I can just click on it,
yes,
and then instead of having to write a bunch of stuff, I don't know, I can just like click, and then enter, and then
roll it up in a document. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, once you build that, share it, because I've used Google Forms, but I'm no expert. I built them for a business once, and that was it. That was my only time
I
to do
could
it.
probably make some. You know,
Yeah, I think there needs to be a way to standardize that stuff. I think Ray Dalio's got a really good book. It is not one for listening to on audio. It's very much here's the formulas, here's the math, and here's the yeah, which is just like impossible to listen to on audio.
yeah, I don't, I could see the history, but I'm still not completely sold on. I mean, yeah, I could maybe see how math might be helpful, but honestly, I think you can, get a general idea, uh, just from history and where we're
Oh,
at now.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think the math doesn't have to be more impressive than counting things up, right? Like,
Mm.
what happened before the Civil War? Oh, these things did. How many civil wars did that happen prior to? Oh, let's count, whatever. 5 out of 6 of them happened before the last 20 civil wars. Well, that sounds like a pretty good indicator. I don't think it needs to be, calculating the statistical deviation and all that stuff. I just like,
Right.
I think
I think we need to figure out what is different today than back then. You know what I mean? Because like part of Peter Turchin's point is like there's this wealth pump, and once it on the graph goes to this certain point, then the elites are there, then we get stuff happening, blah blah blah. Well, that might be true in the history. I mean, but you have to look at the parameters back then. I mean, like, way back when the wealth pump would do that, the people on the bottom are probably starving to death,
right.
cannibalize each other. That might not be happening today. You know what I mean?
No, they're going to the food bank or whatever.
Exactly. They got a blink card, they got their medical card, I mean, they go to the dentist. I mean, it's not the same. So we have to look at what is different too,
Yeah, just gathering the data through forms is valuable for experiments that may not be invented yet. People can aggregate this data and use it in unknown ways. For like I was thinking to do community science. Oh, you got to work out a complete, cradle to grave or cradle to cradle experiment. But no, you could just start gathering social science data and then use that as various community science experiments come into being.
Yeah,
So,
they've got some data to research later. You got to start collecting it at some point.
And the data might suggest an experiment. That's not typically how science works, but it's
also it'd be kind of fun just to see who's a better predictor. out of this, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah, prediction markets are not used enough, you know. I also think like completion bonding, like they do for films, you know, before they make a film, they get someone to ensure that it'll get completed. And why isn't that available just for projects in general? Like, hey, if this project doesn't work, you know, we have a bond that'll pay off, you know, all the people that put their time and resources into it. So I'm thinking that might be a future business model to start it, like a quest bond or something.
Yeah, the Titanic could have used one of those, right? That's where we get the expression "too big to fail." There's so many big investors that put their money in that. People are like, "Yeah, you got to invest in this thing. It's too big to fail."
Yeah, or just
Yeah.
when people start collaborating on a project, put some skin in the game. You know, if it doesn't happen, they have to donate $100 automatically to a charity that they hate. You know, like that's called a Ulysses contract. You know, that could be set up, you know, automatically, you know, in advance. And I don't think that's considered gambling or anything. I think that's legal to do.
I should do that with Luis. Get him to donate to the.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure he'd have me giving money to the PSL, the whatever that is, the Popular Liberation Socialist,
Yeah.
whatever they are, Popular Socialist Liberation. But you know, I'd have him give money to the Cato Institute or something.
Yeah,
like
right.
that.
The Mises
I don't
Institute.
know.
That'd be an interesting thing for a forum. Like what's your favorite and least favorite charity? And then that could be used, you know, for these Ulysses contracts later on.
Of course, that sounds like a reason to fudge the data.
Yeah, right. You're actually incentivizing data fudging. So you have to have some, you know, safeguards against that.
Third party, have a third party hold the donation in hand until it's been verified or whatever. Trust but verify. Wow, I think we lost Dan.
No, I'm.
Oh, your iPad. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't gone on Zoom with this iPhone before, so it's just getting used to it.
Well, I'm for our new folks. I'm Alan. I live in Texas, and I take care of my mother, which is just a chore for me. Not a chore, but I mean it's a lot of work. But I try to find a nice way to say it's a lot of work. Chore doesn't seem to actually do that, but and I do this stuff too. I'm a writer, and then so what do you guys do, Jacob, Nikki, y'all Canadians?
I'm actually Canadian. Jacob, you can go first.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm from Kansas.
From where?
Kansas?
Oh, Kansas. Okay.
Yeah. I do like basically cobbled together side jobs on oil leases,
Oh, cool.
working over pumping units.
Yeah, he
Wow.
posted this picture I think yesterday or whenever on Discord. I was like, man, that looks like Titan in the future. And he was like, that's what I put in there for the prompt.
Yeah, I've had this like fixation on Titan, like intergalactic wildcatting.
Yeah, right. Like
Although
methane.
I guess it's not really wildcatting if it's in an ocean on the surface.
Well, it's in an ocean under the surface, right? Well,
I believe they're visible on the surface, like oceans of liquid methane.
Yeah.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
Titan. I'm thinking of Io.
Yeah. Which reminds me of a very interesting exchange I had with Kimberly Forsyth on Twitter a long time ago about the architecture on different planets due to the ubiquity of different building materials.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Like on
Yeah,
Titan, you'd
there's
probably have cities made of petroleum-based polymers.
Yeah.
On Mars, iron ore would be cheap and ubiquitous.
Yeah. We don't make them out of water here, though.
No,
Yeah,
I don't.
yeah, Science and Futurism with Isaac Arthur. I don't know if you all are familiar with that show, but
Oh, I
he did a
love
whole,
that.
yeah, it's awesome. He did a whole show about different industrial uses for planets. So like,
Yeah.
yeah, you could terraform a really cold planet like Io or Titan, but you're a whole lot better off using it. I mean, it's cold already. Do all your computing there, right? Like,
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
create
because
these giant processor
like I
farms.
say,
yeah,
even when it's not real practical, it's fun. It's a fun exercise in thinking.
Yeah,
that's what I was telling Jacob on Discord, that they'll probably just not terraform Titan or just leave it that temperature because the methane's already liquid. And then they don't
yeah,
And
have
it's way more
to.
useful as a liquid because it's dense and easy to
Yeah.
store and transport.
Mhm.
yeah. Terraforming's not always the right answer, or probably
And
never.
it's Well, and also, if you have machines on the surface, it's much safer to refine in an atmosphere that contains no oxygen, so it's non-explosive.
Right. Yeah.
If you need to burn it for fuel, you can install engine components to feed in oxygen.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting. It's an environment where like your oxygen suit or whatever your oxygen pack so you can breathe is like the most dangerous thing in the environment.
Yeah, we'll probably have to decide individually per planet, per moon, how
Yeah.
best to, That's why I asked him, Jacob on Discord, about if we find life on Europa,
Mhm.
or if we find, really life anywhere. Do we, leave it alone, or do we, and
Well, I thought
not
about that
terraform it?
question, and I thought if you found anything on Europa, it would probably be some kind of extremophile bacteria, and I certainly wouldn't deprive humans of good things to protect that.
Right. And if it's
Well, I
gonna,
mean, yeah, I'm with you. I think if you got a, what level of critter do you say, yeah, we're going to move in anyway and adapt, or, we're going to create natural preserves on a planet where the extremophiles can be viewed by school kids and generations that
Yeah, I mean,
future.
you should study it all first, because you obviously don't want to lose a useful life form.
That was another Isaac Arthur thing was, is it ethical to terraform?
right.
Like in the longevity field, there's a lot of fascination with creatures at the bottom of the sea and things like the way stem cells behave in sharks. There's a lot we can learn from other life forms about biology.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's funny. It's like, oh, if you want to live as long as Megadon or whatever, one of these giant sharks or
Well,
Arctic
because
Ocean dwelling creatures, like
yeah, like
all you got to do is figure out how to be able to survive tons of pressure.
yeah,
Oh,
well, because like the Greenland shark, for example, we don't actually know how old they can get, and in their hundreds of years of life, they occasionally get cancer, but their immune system seems to be converting it into some kind of a scar tissue. That's why part of why their skin is so weird as they age.
Those things
yeah,
are wicked looking.
They are
I
deep ocean dwellers. But
I
there's
used
all
one of
kinds
these.
of like ocean life that behaves in these weird ways we don't see on land.
I used one little clip of a goblin shark in one of my music videos because it's cool looking. It was coming out of the dark. It was,
cool.
Oh, and
Well, what
there's
do you
still a
think,
bunch of
Nikki?
stuff.
Nikki, I hadn't heard from you yet.
Okay, yep. I can give a bit of an introduction. I'm like completely into different stuff, I think, at the moment. I am focusing on cryonics. So I was into longevity and transhumanism, but then I kind of specialized and got really interested in cryonics and found this gap in the cryonics industry. And I'm a software developer, and I decided to fill the gap. So I started an organization, and then I got my organization funded, and then it potentially has broader applications than just cryonics. So I'm kind of putting a
Nice.
lot of effort into that right now. And yeah.
I mean, that sounds awesome. I noticed you weren't chiming in on the, Newfoundland shark or whatever. I'm in a I'm in a writers group, and one of the writers her story was about this gal who was married to a SETI scientist who was trying to communicate with alien life but didn't communicate at home. And anyway, she finally leaves him for this other guy, and it's really, I think it's a pretty good story. But she had this conversation where she meets the other guy, the other guy, whatever, and they're both, and he's a tour guide on a boat in the Keys, and he starts talking, it's a fishing boat. They catch a sawfish. And so he's kind of starts geeking out about, yeah, we're going to pull it up here and we're going to get y'all pictures, but then we're going to let it go because they're basically dinosaurs and they're rare animals. And they go into this in-depth conversation about how they're part of the ray family and not fish or whatever. And so 10 people at the table were like, oh yeah, that's just that's lousy, bonding conversation. They're like, I don't want to be taught about sawfish. It's not an educational thing. I want to read for the romance or whatever. And I was like, am I the only one here that thinks that's an appropriate first date bonding conversation? It's bio, whatever that is. Anyway, studying animals, ancient animals. So anyway, I noticed that you got quiet, Jason, and Jake and I are like, yes, longevity animals, squids, and tardigrades.
Yeah, there's like aliens down there.
Oh, it's tardigrade is in space. Am I wrong about that? Or is in the
They
sea?
can live in space. We
Oh,
found
okay.
out.
Yeah, they're actually mostly in temperate forests where they
Oh,
mainly live.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Southern Canada, northern United States. I mean, it's like, yeah,
They
this is
got
a creature
famous
that,
because they can live in space.
yeah, they can live in space, but why would you, right? Like, I'm going to live in the temperate climate.
Well, what it sort of shows to us though is that these microorganisms can possibly travel through space, and the
Yeah,
whole panspermia, which
right.
if panspermia is an actual thing, that raises the percentage that there's life all over the universe by a lot.
Yeah.
So that's why that's important.
All right, but let's talk to the lady who's going to freeze me so I can go meet some.
Yeah, so chronics usually scares people away. I guess not in the longevity space. You guys are probably used to hearing about it, so probably
I call
less.
it Plan B.
Yeah, I do too. I think if you're like 85 plus right now, you'll probably call it Plan A. But yeah,
Yeah,
if
right. Yeah.
you're younger, you'd probably Plan B. So yeah, I might not never ever need it with like longevity, escape velocity. But I have pets that I put into cryostasis about 5 years ago. So I guess that kind of tied me into it a little bit more. And there's a new
Sure.
cryonics company for pets that's just starting now. So some people do that. So that's also weird.
We had a salon with a guy that does that. I can't remember his
Yeah.
name.
Oh, was that
Real
Kai
long, he had real long cool hair.
Yeah, Kai. Yeah.
Kai,
That's
Yeah, Kai. Yeah, I like him.
That was an interesting salon. Yeah.
yeah.
I couldn't remember his name either, but that's cool stuff.
So Nikki, I'm curious, and I was kind of wondering about this with Rudy too. Rudy Hoffman does cryonics, and do you guys in the business, do you talk about just like cryos, like stasis, like voluntary, not, because I mean, I even if we had super longevity, I would still think there'd be this business model for people that just want to like go in stasis for a while.
Time travel. Yeah.
You know
There's
what I mean?
So I'm
Yeah.
part of like the Discord server for like it's the Cryosphere, which is the main Cryonics server. And there we had this person show up a month or so ago that he's just wanted to be paused. Like he was like, it's like usually that's called suspended animation because you like don't die first.
Right.
But yeah, I think there's a certain kind of time travel. You're like, I don't like what's happening
That's a
now.
really
I just want to go to
odd
the
psychology to me.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
guessing
like-
there'd be people that would want to do
It's like
so.
It's like maybe it's not fair to call it suicidal because maybe the person doesn't actually want to die, but they certainly don't want to exist for a certain amount of time.
Yeah, I got
Well,
that vibe.
what if you
Yeah,
can have dreams while you're in there? What if, I
like
mean,
Like
Sky.
that Tom Cruise movie,
Yeah.
Vanilla Sky.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm sort of hyper focused on cryonics right now, which is it's a little bit strange. I'm excited about Brian Johnson's longevity stuff though at the same time, and I don't know. I'm just hyper focused. So I'm kind of you guys' conversation is more global and like broad, I guess, than the stuff I'm thinking about. But yeah.
I just
So-
want to interject. It was nice meeting you guys. I gotta go because I need to give my son a ride to his dad's. But yeah, it was nice talking to you. I'll get this Zoom stuff figured out for next week. And thanks for coming. But I'll see you. Bye.
I'm gonna have to go start my weekly hangout called Tunaville at 7 o'clock Pacific every Saturday night. You're all welcome to come. It's a
Yeah.
freeform thing. Jason's been there. I think Art
I've been
Ramon.
there, I think once, yeah. It's been
Yeah.
a while. Been a while.
The link is just the Zoom room link is my phone number 805-908-9213. I'll put it in the chat. Guess maybe you can just find it from during that. There's no password. And then you can also, I'm also the vice president candidate for the Transhumanist Party 2024 with Tom Ross. So that's kind of cool. And probably be running for city council in Thousand Oaks here for the 4th time, which is kind of neat because it's going to be 5 times easier because they just divided the city up into 5 districts and you only have to win your district.
Ah, nice. You don't have to do the at large. Yeah.
So instead of trying to convince 120,000 voters, I can try to convince 25,000 voters.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. And when is that election? Is that this year also?
Yeah, they're going to be electing District 5 in November. So here's
Man,
5908.
I sure wish I hope you have to turn that down so you can, go with Tom to the White House.
Yeah, I don't know if it's legal to run for city council and vice president office at the same time. So maybe I'll get a federal election commission.
Well, Dan the birthday wizard would make for an excellent vice president.
Indeed.
All right. Well, all endorsements welcome. Yeah, I've worked with a group and this guy from New York and Poland. He has something called constitutional cooperation, and it's kind of the idea that when you collaborate, you kind of need 3 people. One's like the steward, the facilitator, and the guide. So once you get that critical mass of 3 personalities working on something, there's this whole system he has for doing what he calls constitutional cooperation. And he's got a book on Amazon about it. Probably if you just search Amazon for constitutional cooperation. And then they're setting up this app on this site called HoloChain, which is kind of a blockchain-driven facilitation for projects. So I'm excited about adding things like Dunbar numbers and the Kiersey-Bates, personality temperaments to that, and geolocation and event-driven programming. George just kind of location value.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's what I probably would have written my chapter about if I'd gotten it together for the book.
We'll get it together. Keep writing.
Yeah.
We got you just aim for 24 and end up in 25. Whatever. Or vice versa. No, that's not. Yeah, whatever. Keep writing.
So,
Keep
Nikki,
writing.
I'll be checking out in about 20 minutes. Start my Tunaville. That's the name of the weekly conversation.
yeah, I might stop by.
Yeah, cool. Sorry, I don't have
Neat.
a clickable link, but yeah, it was just kind of like a virtual cocktail party, and you don't even have to drink.
All right, I like it already.
Nikki, you said you're a software programmer. I'm wondering, are you using like Chat GPT or like Devin or some kind of program to write your code?
I use it all the time. All the time. I start my day, I open it up and I'm trying to branch out because apparently Claude 3, the Opus one, is better
Yeah,
and
that's what I
coding
heard too.
and
I
yeah,
started using it too.
how are you finding it? Better or worse?
Better than ChatGPT 3.5, that's for sure, I think.
Okay. Yeah,
I,
I'm
I
using
never I didn't get to 4.0. I think Alan has it.
I do. Yeah, I like it for writing. I'm I'm waiting a little while to go with the latest. There's Claude, and there's another one that just came out with their new advanced version. So they claim to be better than both Claude and or is it the new Claude? I don't know. Anyway, claims to be much better. So I'm looking forward to that too. But I'm kind of waiting.
It can still mess you up pretty bad though. It can take you down like rabbit holes where you waste more time than you would have if you just thought about it a little bit harder yourself.
Sure. Oh yeah.
But I find it's like hard to get started if I know I have to work that hard. So I'd rather just sit there and have it like kind of mess up for a while because it's easier than just, I don't know. It helps me a lot.
Well,
Overall,
I
I'm
do a
more
lot of yeah. Yeah. One way I use it is if I'm writing and I come to something like, what's the best, how do oh, I want to rappel down a building. Well, I've rappelled down buildings before. I could go from memory, but I can also just like change screens, type in, describe, somebody rappelling down a building and come back to what I was writing and then just keep going with my, flow of consciousness.
Yeah, it's
And
so
then,
helpful. Yeah.
yeah, come back to it. And, oh yeah, it's pretty good detailed description and I can balance it against my own experience. And there's a nice app called Scholar GPT. That's one of the things about 4.0 or whatever it is. Um, 4.022 or whatever. Is it has these plugins.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's nice. So there's one that'll help you craft prompts for Dolly and Mid Journey, and one is that I really like is Scholar GPT, and it doesn't go to the web in general. It goes to like JSTORs and other
Mm,
compilations of scholarly journal articles, and so
nice.
it cites those. And what's a little bit frustrating is I can't go. You know, I originally want to go check its work, and it's like, oh no, these Stanford papers that I got in JSORs or whatever it's all paywall protected, so I really don't know if it's making things up or not. But
Oh, but
I'm
it
sure
can get good at
Yeah, they all this artificial intelligence, large language models really excite me as far as the opportunities it provides for people who are autodidacts and just like to learn on their own.
yeah. I mean,
Because you can
it's
really go
like
down
if
a
you're
rabbit
bored with
hole on these.
ChatGPT, like, yeah. I don't understand it. I like my husband was telling me about someone that he works with that just started using it like last week or something. They're like, oh, I learned how to do like renew my car insurance. Like, I ask it everything. Like I had to do my passport application again, everything. I open up ChatGPT, tell me exactly how to do this, what steps, my taxes last week, just absolutely everything.
I was just messing around and found myself receiving a lecture about the merits of stem cell therapy.
Yeah.
there is that danger of just letting myself go down the rabbit hole. Like, I actually want to find out how to cut the stems on roses, and 3 hours later, I've got an article on stem cell therapy or whatever. It's like I could have cut the roses 10 different ways by now or whatever.
So I used it to write music. I would like ask it, give me 20 words that are 3 syllable that rhymes with longevity. You know. Mm,
Try that with orange. See what you get.
Yeah,
With
that
or
probably
no,
gives you a pretty
orange.
interesting output. Because I know, if you want, you can ask it to write a poem about whatever, but if you do most of the work yourself and just have it help creatively with inputs here and there, you probably do get a better, more unique output.
Yeah, I've tried to just get it to write it, but
Yeah.
it just ain't right. I don't know what to
Yeah,
say. It just ain't. It don't. I don't know. It'll do weird stuff like feel the stars, and you're like, wait, what? That don't really make sense.
Mhm.
yeah, a lot of it goes there and it gets the common stuff off the web. So I mean, by design, it doesn't really give you anything very creative.
Yeah,
But,
it's only as good or as bad as the internet.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's saying something, but I'm not quite sure what. A buddy of
Yeah.
mine did a country. He wanted to do a country western song about a self-driving truck that leaves the owner.
That's pretty good one.
They wrote a little country western song. It was a bridge and a refrain, and then whatever else that. A couple of verses, maybe it's 3 verses, and one of the verses was about his AI truck, drove away or whatever. It's like, so it wasn't like, didn't write a whole song about it, but included it as one.
I used it to write I used Suno AI. It's a music making thing, and wrote one about played my country record backwards and got my dog back and my truck back and my wife back.
Girlfriend back. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Pretty good. I still got to
Yeah,
make for that.
that's well, somebody else was saying, like, if you play rock and roll, you get satanic, backwards, you get satanic lyrics. But the one I liked was if you play new age music backwards, you know what you get?
What?
New age music. That's what I like. I thought that was, you get new age music, sounds the same forward back.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Man. I don't think it's out yet, but there's one called Devon. I think that
Yeah, I just saw that today. Yeah, I saw.
Yeah, that's like the self-developer.
So Nikki might like that one. It's supposed to be, I think, an autonomous agent that'll write it for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not that I fully understand it, but I've heard of it.
What is
Yeah.
it for code?
Yeah,
Mhm.
people think it's gonna take their jobs and stuff. I don't know. It still messes up so much. Like, software is messy.
Yeah.
So they said, so like it's like ChatGPT can do, they checked Devon against like how many Jira tickets that it could resolve. Like just bug Jira tickets, and like so Jira ticket is like for non-software when it's used in software, it's like just a itemized kind of report of a problem in software with some details. So they checked whether ChatGPT versus Claude versus this Devon one could like read and understand that, look at the code base, and then like, create a pull request that like solved the bug. And like ChatGPT could do 3 or 4%, same with Claude, of those bug reports. And Devon could do like 11% or something. Like it was like 3 or 4 times higher. So it's still like low, but it's like obviously you're gonna like, if you're assigned a Jira ticket, you're gonna like run it first and be like, do this. If you can't do it, then you'll do it yourself. But 11% is pretty good. Long way to go, but yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Well, Nikki, I love your website. I don't know who your interface person is, but
Oh,
it
that
makes
was
for a
me.
good
It was
good
very painful.
experience.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I
it's good
I hate
experience.
front end, but it turned out nice. Yeah, thank you.
I wanted to ask. I mean, it seems like uh, I worked in a frozen warehouse, and they have all sorts of automated systems, and trucks have special devices, which I thought was hilarious because they were taking them off the truck when they came in and just throwing them in the trash because they weren't the company I worked with wasn't actually monitoring whether or not it stayed frozen the whole trip or whatever. And
Yeah.
so I'm like, oh, don't throw those away. And they're like, oh, we don't monitor that anyway. Like, yeah, I know. Crack it open, and there's 2 AA batteries in there that have been in it for 8 hours while it drove across the country. And so anyway, I left the company with this giant basket of AA batteries. But there's all sorts of monitoring stuff that they do use, right? To say, oh, for everything from, hey, the freezer has stopped working, get a repair person in there, to whatever, the doors were left open and it's warming up.
Oh, so yeah, I said this like before you joined the call, like this is people who like when I apply for jobs and stuff, people typically think Kranix monitoring is monitoring the patients in the doer, like when they're at cold temperatures. But
Uh-huh.
I don't think, maybe I should have named it something differently. It's actually referring to monitoring people before cryonics. So if they're signed up as a cryonics member,
I
they,
noticed the ring and all that. Yeah.
yeah,
So
so
it's
you want to
like
detect if someone dies so that they can, the cryonics standby services can get there as quickly as
so
possible.
it's like similar to like hospice,
Yeah, it's more
as far
morbid
as
than
it's
like, yeah.
end of life care with cryonics in mind.
Yeah, because there actually
Yeah.
isn't like a death alert system on the market for various reasons. Like the FDA doesn't, it's really difficult to get like a device at, like in the hospital, you can have all these sensors attached, but those are all FDA approved medical devices that like have been demonstrated to not fail under these critical situations. And it costs a lot to get something approved for something like that. And there typically aren't at-home devices that are trying to like figure out, like unless you're in a hospice or something, but that's like medical equipment. But if you're just going about your life and you're like signed up for cryonics and you're walking around your house, there isn't actually anything you can wear that's like very robust at detecting if you died or not. So cryonicists actually don't have anything for this right now. There's things that can like detect some things like falls or a high heart rate, but there's not something that could detect like the whole thing. Like there isn't even, it's not easy with a light-based device on like a ring or a watch to even tell if you don't have a heart rate, because the accuracy of those sensors is really bad. It's only good in the range that you'd expect to have a heart rate, like 30 to 200. So yeah, they just suck. So there actually isn't a solution for this for cryonicis yet.
Help, I've fallen and I need to be frozen.
Yeah. Basically, yeah. I should have called it that. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, use the benefit of the existing marketing. The London Futurist did a presentation on cryonics, and that was one of there was a lot of discussion about the legal landscape, and they were saying that, especially in the US, but also the pretty robust system in Britain and the rest of the EU about your legal right to freeze yourself, right? Nobody's like, oh, you want to freeze yourself, go right ahead, but having a contract in place and all that stuff does you absolutely no good if you don't get frozen right away. And so
Yeah.
if there's like, oh, this person died, well, yep, do not resuscitate. Oh, freeze. Well, I don't know, who do we call to get them frozen, right? It's like hours could go by, and so it sounds like you actually hit on a really good, uh,
Yeah.
niche. Yeah.
Well,
Well, I
you
like
have,
thinking of it like a medically induced coma, and there's not a lot of legal problems with putting people in medically induced comas, is there?
Right. Well, not
Yeah.
for medical reasons, I guess.
Well, I
Yeah.
think it's Alcor that's taken advantage of euthanasia laws
Mm.
to be able to preserve people like within minutes of death.
yeah. Yeah, they had a case in Washington State actually, where the standby team was just right there. They can't start before you're actually legally pronounced, but at least they know ahead of time, like the date and the time.
From what
Well,
I
yeah, thank
understand, the
goodness.
current legal definition for death is that the heart and lungs will not operate themselves.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it the same across the all of US? I'm not
I don't
sure.
actually know, but I just remember the salon with that Kowalski guy talking about
Oh,
it from
yeah,
the
Dennis.
Cryonics Foundation.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's something I've often wondered about. I mean, what if, like he was just saying about a medically induced coma or something of that nature? What if the procedure isn't, you're not dying? So there isn't a law against, a procedure, you know, uh, if he was just to go into some kind of suspended animation, of
Yeah,
course.
that's what I'm interested in, is especially for space flight, because a trip to our nearest neighbor at light speed is 4 years, and at a quarter of light speed, it's like 82 years or something, or 10% of light speed, it's like 125 years. So if you could go in suspended animation, I think the resource use of what you would have to move through interstellar space would be a lot less, if you could survive in a sleep state on goo until you got there or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, you also realize though, if you're going at this, the faster you're going, the slower time goes.
Well, that
That's
to some degree, but you know, your body produces radon, so you're gonna if you're in there, it doesn't matter how long. At some point, you're gonna poison yourself with whatchamacallit, with
yeah, it
radioactivity.
would still be the same time to you. Only you would, like, if you went on a spaceship and went like really fast, way far away, and then came back really fast, more
Yeah.
time would have elapsed on the Earth than you had went through. But you would
Right,
still
right.
age, you know.
But we're talking light with speed that light will travel in a year. It takes 4 years to get to Proxima B, or star Proxima, which is part of the Alpha Centauri triple star cluster. So I
Yeah,
mean, it takes
there's
4
no
years
way,
for light.
right? Because there's no way we can really approach the speed of light because mass doubles or whatever when
Right.
once you
But
get,
at 10%, which is probably, I mean, relativistic speed, that's pretty darn fast, But yeah, 10%, it's like 125 years. Starting to get a lot more, doable or whatever.
And half your time is spent accelerating, half the time is spent decelerating. So you got to factor that
Well,
in.
yeah.
we should start sending out self-replicating robots.
I
You know,
agree. I'm all for it.
Yeah.
by the time we get there, there's like, a pad with a jacuzzi built for us and stuff already.
Von Neumann probes, those are called.
Right.
It's the Californian von Neumann probes. Yeah, instead of replicating, they build you a jacuzzi and sunscreen.
Well, yeah, wouldn't that be fun to go on vacations on other planets?
I know, right? Like, yeah, just
Yeah, some
mean,
tropical planet far away that's just a big resort.
and truly, the journey is not the part you want. The journey is not the purpose, right? I mean, you don't
Yeah,
want
the
this.
journey is just the inconvenient
Yeah,
means to the end.
right. Oh,
I don't know. They might have cruise ships going on in the future. Where
yeah.
the
If you
journey is
get longevity solved, yeah, I'll take that 125-year cruise ship to Alpha Proxima, or whatever Proxima.
Oh
Centauri.
yeah, when nanobots are repairing me at the cellular level.
right. Well, that's another thing I thought about though, is that we're looking at these planets like they're real estate. Well, maybe we could live there at this planet. Maybe we could live there at this planet.
Yeah.
Well, if we had a spaceship, literally, or a space station, we could literally put it anywhere. Put it at a
Right.
Lagrange point or something where it ain't moving around, and
Just harvest your materials from the planet.
Fair.
Yeah.
I mean, with enough materials, you can build new real estate in the galaxy.
right.
Well, yeah, and it's easier to terraform something you build, right? Than
Yeah.
than certain planets for sure. Like,
I mean,
it'd be easier to create a big giant nuclear powered cylinder that operates a lot like outdoors.
being able to build whole worlds that are completely optimized to be hospitable to whatever it is you are at that point.
That reminds me of that movie with that ship that's all cobbled together. That ends up, what is it? Oh, I can't remember the name of it.
Millennium Falcon. What's the
Anyway,
movie? I haven't seen it, obviously.
it was this, where there's a spaceship that has like grown over hundreds and hundreds of years, and it got so big that they had to let it loose from the planet's orbit and send it through space, and then it kept growing and growing, and all kinds of different species, are.
Yeah, this is a new
that's
one on me.
Valeria. That's based on that comic strip, Valeria. Yeah.
Valerian, that's it. Yeah,
Valerian, okay.
Valerian. One thing that was really cool though was how did you see where they had that there was like the virtual world or whatever where he I don't to where you the people were like shopping, you know, virtually in this other place, you know, and it was a trip. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, the
Uh,
movie does some weird stuff. I'm pretty sure there weren't any virtual worlds in the original. But yeah, man, that came out. It's a French comic. It came out like before. What was that one with the battleship Yamato or whatever, where they convert it to a spaceship, uh, Star Blazers or whatever. But yeah, yeah, Valerian was out well before that, and it's some interesting stuff.
So is
Hey,
anyone here to Brian Johnson and his longevity stuff?
I've heard of it. I know about
not
him.
by that name. I don't get enough people's names.
Brian,
He's
yeah, he's all right. He did a thing with his dad and his son,
Uh,
you know, where they like shared each other's plasma
yeah,
or
he
something.
does
Yeah.
some blood transfusions, some gene therapies, and encourages people to eat lentils.
yeah, I don't eat the lentils. It's not for me.
Oh, I love lentils.
I like
I was
them.
left
They don't agree with me. So,
Oh,
yeah,
just
I
Yeah,
like
feel
I thought
lentils.
it got kind of a bad rap. Would you know? People were thinking that blood transfusion thing was kind of weird. I didn't, you know, if your son and your dad are cool and up for it, why is that? I didn't think it was that weird, really.
yeah, I don't think it's that weird. If it's
Mm,
efficacious, you should probably be doing it.
Yeah,
okay.
I feel like longevity and chronic specifically, but also radical longevity attracts like weird people. And then we like sit around and we're like, why does no one else want to do what we're doing? And because like you see stuff like the blood transfusion totally makes sense to me, but I see all the negative press that he gets from it, and I'm like, oh, come on, guys. Like it's totally rational. Just like get over it.
Well, yeah, I always think about it this way. You're a living thing in a physical world that is hostile to you. You should be
Right.
using every tool that is at your disposal to preserve your existence.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel
But
like
I
that's
think,
your like ethical duty as a living conscious being.
Yes, that is.
but I
Yeah.
think the common view is not that we're in a hostile world. The common, I mean, look at this net. We don't want artificial. We want natural. No, you don't want natural.
Yeah, it's
Natural
like
is
an Eden myth.
weather that yeah, right. It's weather that kills you, poisonous plants, dangerous animals. But you don't want natural, right? That's
Yeah,
what we've
because
been
the
doing.
state of nature is bashing people's heads in with a rock
Right.
over competition and food.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry to say, but yeah.
Whereas
Yeah,
the process of civilization is this creation of abundance and able to explore a higher state of existence without that competition, where there's just enough to go around.
Right. I think I think most people it's just something that they they just can't really conceive. You know, I mean, they don't really probably believe that the science is really getting that close. You know,
Yeah.
gotta admit it is pretty big freaking thing to try to, believe that, you know, I
Well,
mean,
I guess it is kind of a very big idea that humans can, how should I say this, design a kind, hospitable world through the application of reason.
oh well, I just meant the longevity part, not that.
Oh,
Oh,
well, a lot of people are skeptical about the longevity part,
right.
but
well,
I
by the
just,
same token, there's lots of like the blue, was it the blue zones? I mean, there's people looking into
yeah,
longevity, typically on the incremental level. But again, I just think that just that baseline concept that has been, that's really kind of seized hold of people is this, natural is good. It's like, and it's just
hmm
not accurate,
how they're synonymous.
Yeah, yeah, right. Like, oh yeah, natural goodness. You're right. It's like, well, one of those words is redundant. No, That's right.
Yeah, like the kind of droughts that we get here in the Midwest occasionally, like the corn crop wouldn't survive if it was completely natural, not designed to deal with conditions.
Yeah, and it's not one of those like GMOs are a great example, right? Like we've been selectively breeding corn for centuries, but
Yeah, it's almost a form of bioforming we've been doing because we've recognized a problem in our environment and we're building life forms that can handle that.
yeah.
It's just it just gives me hope for the efficaciousness of science when it can be a horrible drought and you can drive down a back road around here and see GMO corn that's 7 foot tall and green.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
that water issue. I don't know what we're gonna do about that Oklahoma aquifer. I
what?
that's where
Uh,
Dan's
we're not,
idea about. I don't know, man. It would almost been better if we would have drew the borders of our states along the watersheds
oh,
instead.
right.
The
There
way
is something, yeah, there's something to be said about that.
you know.
Yeah, I mean, we probably didn't have a good mapping of the aquifers when we were charting the
No,
territories,
Right, right.
but geology's come a long ways.
Well, I think about Chad over in Africa, right? The Lake Chad was a big enough lake that it was on a map. So when the imperial powers, sat down at the London Geographic Institute or whatever, they were just like drew the line down to Lake Chad. Okay,
Yep.
East of that is going to be Germany, and we'll draw a line south of there. It's going to be France, and west
But
is
yeah,
going to be.
definitely water
And it's like,
resources are a fundamental civilizational thing we have to get right.
yeah, and the Chadians or whatever, they lived. Their community circled the lake, so then all of a sudden
Mhm.
they all had a common language, plus they had one other, European language. It's just what a crazy way to divvy up the planet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
arbitrary borders have actually caused quite a bit of problems.
There have been so many wars over borders that the British and the French drew in their former
Right.
colonies with no knowledge of the
Yeah.
cultural context.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even our states, like the way West Virginia happened.
Yeah.
Because it seceded. Now West Virginia is like hardly is nothing but mountains, and and so
Yeah, 'cause
consequently it's like the poorest, basically.
because it was a little corner that didn't join the Confederacy.
Right. Right. So it's it'd probably be better off part of Kentucky or Iowa or Ohio. I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of like that Alsace-Lorraine region between Germany and France. It's changed
Switched
hands.
hands a million times.
Yeah. When I was stationed in Heidelberg, Germany, there was this photograph on the wall, and it was a World War I French monument to the soldiers that defended Alsace, the Alsace region or whatever. And then, and on that monument was a metal plaque that had been stamped on it, and it said, it's in German, but then they had a translation underneath. It said, "This monument is deemed proper for preservation by the Wehrmacht, the German war machine." It was like, 1940, 42. It's just that ebb and flow. It's captured in one shot.
The thing about borders, though, that you have to look at it from a point of view of like, the power in charge. Like, if you have, uh, if you're worried about what's going to happen when your regime ends, then you want to draw, and there's these two outside powers, you want to draw their borders so that way if your regime ends and you go in this anarchy period, they will fight each other instead of fighting you. You know what I'm saying? So you purposely draw the map so that if anything ever happens, it's immediately a conflict between these two parties, and then you can come in and you fix it. You know what I
Isn't
mean?
that's the plutocracy theory is like
demonstrating for us
the
that, you know, art stuff that were in like Britain and places that far away. But last week my internet or my screen froze. I think I couldn't. The only way I could come back was to turn my laptop off and turn it back on again. And luckily, when I finally got back, oh yeah, then it was running updates, and so by the time
Oh, that was his other meeting. He was I recognize that voice. That's that. I know who that.
abruptly, I just had a little crash.
Yeah,
is that Ada?
there's
No.
people from Zoom. Say hi to Tunaville.
Hi,
Tunaville, say
Tunaville.
hi to OmniFuturists.
Hello.
Zoom.
Hello,
Wow,
Ada.
we're gonna like break the internet. We're like combining two Zoom meetings.
Crossover.
Break the internet.
Yeah, I just remember like driving for vacation in France. As we approached the river, I guess the Seine there, you could see like the gun embattlements, these concrete bunkers that housed the German guns, up on the high ground. And then as we drove down the hill into the kind of the valley between the France and Germany that the river snakes through, there was this, kind of like a turnstile border crossing, with a building, a fence around it, and the classic gate that goes up and down, or not gate, but arm. But the arm was locked in the up position, and the place was all boarded up, and we just drove on through because, they're during the EU.
Yeah.
And it was just interesting. The physical evidence of those borders was really
You
powerful.
probably saw remains of the Maginot Line in that area.
Yes, made a point to. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, the pyramids are still standing, but any code that I wrote in school has been erased by a magnet. Long ago.
Well, we'll get better code.
Storage media, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a theory that the pyramids are older than what the mainstream archaeologist dating is.
Well, if you want to hear something crazy about the pyramids, just watch the History Channel after midnight.
Oh yeah.
The blocks were all levitated into position by aliens.
Well, using sound. That's the one that
Oh,
gets me.
well, using sound.
I don't know what you got to
I
do.
don't know how to do that, but no, it could be built by humans.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could probably be built by pharaohs employing corvée laborer.
Yeah, pretty easily.
But
believed.
what's super
there's-
interesting though is if you look at the measurements, because if you look at the measurements of the Great Pyramid, you can tell that there was a super intellect behind that, because like
As
there's
1 + 2
numbers.
= 3 is such a come on.
No, I mean like
It
you
was
know,
skilled
in-
labor for the time. The builders working on the pyramids were considered artisans.
the numbers are a scale model of the Earth.
Oh, is
And
that
it
right?
has encoded like the speed of light in it. You don't just get them numbers on accident. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you do. I mean, there's look at the Fibonacci
Yeah, that makes me
sequence.
think of the Library of Alexandria and all the information about that we probably lost.
Well, that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. That I think we lost intelligence probably maybe more than once in our past, because we mostly got the same hardware. So I don't, and it's a fallacy in logic to say that we're the smartest that there ever was. You know what I mean?
Well, sure. But hey, Jason, just to counter your argument, do you ever look at a Nautilus shell and think, oh, that must have been made by aliens, because it inherently incorporates the Fibonacci sequence, right? I mean,
Well, that's inherent in like all life almost, though. Really,
well, speed of
if you
light.
look at like the trees, how there's this a trunk, and then X amount of branches come off of that, and then X amount of branches come off of that. It's the same with our veins, or capillaries. It's the same with almost everything that has to do with life has that
Lay
same
yeast molds, hunt for food. Yeah, they all work.
mathematical pattern in it. Forever, from big to small, from even the whole forest will have the same ratio of big trees to small trees in it. I don't know. That's just a weird thing about life.
Although I saw a hilarious little short video, it was a lot of Hispanic film content creators here in Texas. So I don't know if that's, but this guy's wearing his orange vest, his hard hat, and he says, you know why Mexicans are the best builders? He's like, I'll tell you why. He says, we got pyramids in Mexico. Nobody ever questions whether or not Mexicans built them. He says, nobody says, oh, did aliens build these? He says, no. We're clearly the best builders.
That's pretty good, actually. I like that.
Oh, I thought Mexicans were the best builders because they'll tolerate working on roofs in July.
Oh man, yeah, right.
Oh,
Do you know
golly.
that site that's right by Mexico City, Tenochtitlan?
Yeah. I've been there.
That-
Been years, but yeah.
Where the
Oh,
pyramid of the sun and
oh
Quetzalcoatl
Teotihuacan?
and that whole
Michoacan, or
that whole
Because Tenochtitlan had
complex.
Mexico City built over it.
Yeah, Tenochtitlan. Wait, that was
I don't know the name.
Well,
that was the floating
Teotihuacan is
city,
an
right?
archaeological site of a civilization that was before the Aztecs.
Is it right
Because
outside of
Tenoch-
Mexico
right.
City?
Yeah, because
That's-
Tenochtitlan, the Spanish built Mexico City on top of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so what am I thinking of? But you know which one I'm talking about,
Yeah,
though.
with the pyramid.
Yeah. Pyramid of the Sun
Yeah.
and all that. I went there in
Yeah.
1975.
That has some really unique, like numbers in it. There's like the air where it's the sun, and then it's like a mirror image of the solar system, to where
Yeah, they were really
each
into
pyramid is
astronomy.
the same length of the planets in our solar system, and it's like a mirror image of Orion, the 3 stars in Orion's belt.
Well, yeah, that's what they say about the
Pyramids.
pyramids at Giza also. Which I found something interesting is that the Ethiopian Christians refer to those 3 stars that we call Orion, from the Greek and Roman nomenclature. They call those the 3 wise men, which I find kind of interesting. And they got their own take on Christianity, but part of it is their cosmic view, and that I call that the 3 wise men. They have the whole story written in the stars.
Well, I find it interesting that they ran the clock back. It was like a map in the computer where you
Yeah.
look at stars. And when Orion was in the right position or whatever, and Leo with the Sphinx, it all points to 10,500 BC. That's like right before the Younger Dryas extinction, or whatever it was, the end of the Ice Age.
Yeah, that's like 6,000 years before agriculture.
Right. And so that's why there's this theory that there was actually a higher civilization back then that kind of got wiped out, mostly.
Yeah, like Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson do work around that.
I don't know how, true it is, but I do, I do know this, that time, when you're talking, 10,000, that's 12,000 years. You know what I mean? If humans were gone off the planet like right now, in 12,000 years, there ain't going to be nothing left. There ain't going to be no skyscrapers left. There ain't going to be no, you know what I'm saying? The
Well, again, that's
maintaining
ravages,
civilization.
that
the
amount of
record.
time will obliterate everything.
Yeah.
And all that would be left would be something like the pyramids. You
Yeah,
know?
because
It's the
maintaining a
storage medium.
complex
Yeah. Yeah.
civilization is a constant process.
So that's where I'm like, well, maybe, because yeah, that's all we would have left. We wouldn't know. I mean, we're half tempted to think that if there was this higher civilization, we'd be left with something that we could find that we know, right? But maybe not. I don't know.
If it was a non-carbon using civilization, it wouldn't, necessarily, have things like heating and smelting other than passive solar energy. But you could, do a lot of great stuff with passive solar. Gang, I'm getting tired. I've been sick lately, and I'm
Yeah,
so.
I could probably get out of here too.
Hey,
All right. Well, this has been
Nikki, I
a
want to
wonderful
get
conversation.
your email address, Nikki. If I have more questions about cryogenics coding or health monitoring
Sounds
rings.
good. Yeah. I'm the host of this meeting, even though I've never been before, which was kind of weird, but I can handle Zoom, so it's fine.
Laura's like,
This is
girl
actually the
power.
first time I have ever used Zoom.
What? Are you
Really?
serious? Did you live through the
Yes.
pandemic?
Yes, I am serious. This is the first time I've ever used Zoom.
How do you like it compared to Google Hangouts, or what were
It's
you using?
okay. It's versatile. I noticed there's a lot of features. Yeah, it's not bad. I figured things out pretty quick. I like the chat feature.
Yeah, I think it's a very stable platform too. I mean, they've done innovation and improvements along the way, but they've also kept it stable, which a lot of companies, they throw in the extra cool software right away before they've rigorously checked to see if it'll crash the system.
Yeah.
It works. Cool. All right, I'm gonna get out of here, guys. Please, cool to
All
meet you.
right. Yeah, I'm going to get out of here myself.
Yes, good
Thank
night
you
all.
for the conversation, everybody.
Yeah, nice to meet everyone.
Yeah, nice to meet you all, and good luck with your endeavors there. I
Thank
hope your
you.
company very successful.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. It's lots of work, but yeah.
And
Fingers
I
crossed.
hope to see you all tomorrow at the saloon, at the Enlightenment Salon.
Yep. Okay, I'll end the meeting then. See you later.
Okay. Oh.
Okay. Bye.
All right.